Hello and welcome to this series in Blender. This is designed specifically for Key Stage 3 of secondary school in the UK, which basically means ages 11 to about 13, 14, years 7 to 9. If you're interested in Blender, want to get to grips with the basics to see how it functions, then this series is for you. So, I'm presuming at this point you've downloaded Blender, you've got into the software. When you first go in, you will be presented with another window. If you just click next, which will appear in this sort of bottom corner, it will then take you to this section here, depending on the version you're using. And I'm using Blender 4.40. Yours may be more recent or slightly older, whichever it is. They're pretty much very similar, so you still will be able to follow along. And if you have any issues, drop them in the comments and I'll get back to you. So at this one window here, we're going to click on General and it's going to take us into the interface. So we're currently on the Layout tab, and across the top we have lots of different tabs that do different things and different parts of the production cycle. On the left hand side here we have our sort of key tools and things that we can use on any objects that we create appear on this side. Over here we have the scene collection, where objects will appear and allow us to sort of turn them on and off and hide them and control what's in the scene. And down here we have different settings and properties that we can change and adapt. Finally, down the bottom you may see this little play symbol. If you click and pull that up, you get a full timeline, and that is for animation. So if you want to move around the interface, we can look at these tools just here. So we can click on this object here, which is called the gimbal, and it moves in 360 directions by clicking and dragging on that. And we can also click on Z, click on X, click on Y, and it will allow us to move around. We then also have the drag. So by clicking on this hand and moving in any direction allows us to drag the interface. So I'm going to move it off. And we can click on this option here, which changes the perspective to isometric and then sort of more 3D. And if we click on the camera there, we can see the camera view, what the camera sees, which is something we don't need to worry too much about at this point in time. Additionally, we can change the way this object looks. So we can change to wireframe to see every side, which is helpful when we edit the objects. We can have shaded view, which shows us how it looks once it has been shaded. We then have a couple of different options that show lighting and textures if we ever get to that point. Okay, so let's go ahead and click this cube in the middle. Now the cube in the middle is selected. It will show, well, when it's selected, it will show an orange outline. So any objects that are currently active will show an orange outline, and they'll also show up in the scene collection with a blue bar along them. So what we're going to do on the keyboard is look for the delete button, and that's the one that says the word delete. So we're going to click delete on the object, and then we're going to work out what we're going to do. So if we start with a scene, we usually start with a cube in there. We've now deleted that. I want to add in a new mesh. So I'm going to go to Add, Mesh, Plane. Okay, and it's going to appear in the middle. Now I want to move this out of the way because every object that we create, so we're going to go back to Add, Mesh, we're going to add a cube back in. You'll see they all appear in the middle. So let's go to Add, Mesh, and we'll do Circle. And what we're going to do is go to the side here where we have the Move tool, and we're going to click on that. I'm then going to select the green arrow and drag the circle back. I'm going to click on the cube, click on the green arrow, and then the blue arrow and drag it back. I'm going to select the plane, I'm going to click the red arrow, so move it over here. And I want you to go ahead and add in all of the other objects. So go to Add, Mesh, and add them all in. And then we're going to move them and have a look at their different forms, so we're aware of what different things we can start with in here. So if I move the cylinder, I'm just going to click randomly, and whatever I pick up, I pick up. So I've got this here, which we'll come back to later on. And I'm going to move this sphere. So at this stage, once I've done this, go ahead, pause the video, and do this for yourself. It doesn't matter where they're placed, just place them in so you know how to add an object in there confidently. Okay, so you've unpaused the video again now, and what we're going to do is have a look at what we've got in the scene. So most of these shapes are fairly recognisable. We have two sphere objects, but they're actually slightly different, so I'm going to go to wireframe mode. One of these is actually made of triangles. So lots of little triangles. One of these is made of squares. We also have two, what looks like two image planes, but actually one is a plane and one is a grid. And the reason that they are different is that one of them has lots of subdivided faces like a mesh net, and the image plane is just a square. Okay, but you can't see that in shaded mode. Finally, we have the only other shape here that you might be questioning. You've obviously got a cone, a torus, circle, and we have these are called the isosphere and the UV sphere. And this one here is the monkey. So I'm just going to click on this tool. So on the left hand side, this is rotate. I'm going to click on the blue line and I'm going to rotate that around, and we can see we have a monkey face. And the reason for this is that all 3D packages have a sort of mascot 3D object, and in Blender it is the monkey object. Now what's interesting, you may have noticed, is that on this side here the shape actually gets named Suzanne. So in this menu it's called monkey, but actually the name of the monkey is Suzanne. And I don't know why, and I've never looked into why, but there we go. Okay, so there's a brief introduction to these shapes. So now what we're going to do is we are going to hide what is in this scene. So rather than click on the eyeball on collection, that will hide everything, because that will hide anything new that we make, we're going to click and one by one hide these elements, or you can click the eyeball and drag downwards on that list and it will hide everything. We are then going to go to add, mesh, and we're going to click cylinder. But this is a really important part of this. When we click cylinder, try not to click anything else. So if we create a cylinder, if you click off the object, you'll see this box down here called add cylinder. If I select that, if I click off it and click back on the cylinder, we lose that object. So we need to keep that menu there because we want to edit that. So I'm going to push delete. I'm going to go back to mesh, add mesh cylinder, and then I'm going to go to view, and we're going to go to frame selected, and on the wheel of the mouse I'm going to scroll backwards, okay, just to zoom out a little bit. And what we're going to do is in this window here, which we've selected, so it should be appear down the bottom left, we're going to change vertices to 10. We're going to set the radius to keep it at 1, and we're going to set the depth at 0.5, and we've got this shape. So what we're going to do is click on Z. In fact, we'll leave it here for now. We're going to go to the modeling tab. So the moment we're on layout, we're going to switch to the modeling tab, and what's happened is we've now got this orange object with points showing, and we kind of need to look into that. So every 3D object is made of a collection of points in space, and these points that I'm clicking along at the moment are called vertices. And a vertice is just a point in space that has an X value, a Y value, and a Z value. And when we have two of those, the computer software can build a line between them. And when we get 3 or 4 of those, we have 3 or 4 edges as well as 3 or 4 vertices. We then have a face. And to edit an object, we can select a vertice and we can move it. okay, like this, we can select an edge and we can move it like this, and we can select multiples of those and move them, and we can select a face and we can move a single face. Okay, so what we're going to do today is turn this into a star. Now if I switch back to vertice, so we're up in this corner here, switching between them, so just have a go switching between them. Okay, get used to that. And if I try to select both vertices, so I've clicked on the Z on the gimbal, so I've gone up here and pushed Z. If I try and select both by drawing a net, so click and drag a net around that vertice and pull it, you'll see that actually I've only selected one. So in order to fix this and have it so that both of those select when we draw that net, we're going to switch to wireframe. So where the gimbal shape is, go up to where we've got this white shaded circle. So go to the gimbal, go up to the white shaded circle and go across left one to something that looks like a basketball and click on that. And if we then, so if we just switch between those two for a second just to remind ourselves, then if I click and drag the net over that vertice, this time it will move both, because in wireframe mode it will select all the vertices in that area rather than just the one that we can see. So Control Z is undo, and what I'm going to do now is hold down the Shift key and I'm going to click and drag around every other one. So I've got the first set of vertices. Let's start again. I've got the first set. I'll go along to the next one and leave that and move to the third. Draw a net. Go to the fourth, ignore that, and go to the fifth and draw a net. Go to the sixth, ignore that, go to the seventh and draw a net around it. Go to the eighth, ignore that, and move to the ninth and draw a net around that. And as the 10th one is an even number, we're going to ignore that. Then what we're going to do is go back to our tools on the left hand side. Now there's a lot more here which we're not going to use today, but we're going to go to the scale tool. So if we look at the move tool we've been using, we're going to move down to the scale tool. I'm going to click on the scale tool and I can move the Y arm, I can move the X arm, but it doesn't look like a star. What I'm going to do is go to this blue box, and that blue box will move both the Y and the X axis at the same time, and it will create this cool looking mesmerizing pattern if you move it around. And what we're going to do is make a star shape by clicking and dragging that in. Then I'm going to switch to shaded mode and move around, and you can see we've created a cool looking star. Then I'm going to go and click and drag down here and go to cylinder, and I'm going to rename this star by double clicking, typing star and pushing the return key, also known as enter. And from there I'm going to save my file by going to file, save as, and save it into your files, and then we can move on to the next video and look at the next lesson. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.